This episode of PTG is brought to you by Transfuse, the hydration, immunity, and mental clarity booster, and Transcend nootropics. And with just one serving of Transfuse, it is equal to 4 of the competitors in one. And there is no other formula as potent as Transfuse on the market. And you are all encouraged to go and compare the formulas with any other products on the market and see for yourself just how amazing it is. Transfuse uses all natural flavors, colors, and sweeteners, and there's no proprietary blends, so you know exactly every milligram of each ingredient you are consuming. This formula was created to optimize your mind, body, and immunity, and Transfuse can be used as a high-performance multiplier for working out and any competitive sports or demanding lifestyles. Also, be sure to get your hands on the Transcend, which is a nootropic formula that improves cognitive function and can replace your morning coffee, pre-workouts, energy drinks, or energy shots. The formula contains lion's mane, alpha GPC, teacrine, and dynamin. Transcend was created based off of research studies to help with cognitive control and mental function. So get your hands on some Transcend and some Transfuse today. Head on over to transfuseusa.com. Use code PLAYTHEGAME for 10% off and sign up for monthly delivery service for an additional 10% off to take advantage of 20% off these products altogether right now. Head on over there, support PTG. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the show. This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same-day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram at Lone Wolf PB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community. This episode of PTG is brought to you by the HK Army Black November sale happening right now at hkarmy.com, and you are not going to want to miss this as they have up to 50% off the entire HK Army Fire Sale collection from now until December 1st. These are the biggest sales of the year all month long with crazy discounts including $100 off Expand gear bags and 20% off on jerseys, pants, and more. Head on over to hkarmy.com and shop the fire sale right now. Let's go PTG fam. We cannot thank you enough for supporting the companies that support PTG.
What's going on, PTG Nation? Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us for another amazing episode. This episode, we have Archie Montemayor of San Diego Dynasty, Project, and Tekniq. Anodizing. Archie is a pioneer in the sport, both on and off the field. DJ Arch is making his tour around the world as one of the greatest to ever do it. And this episode was full of gems and knowledge and a ton of insight, some great laughs, and even some, big-time rumor mill news. You guys aren't going to want to miss it. So without further ado, we're going to hop in the show.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon.
Great shot by all the guys. So Tyler Harmon saved that game.
He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have the one and only Archie Montemayor here on the show. Tyler, Arch, what's happening, brothers? It's Thanksgiving week. Holiday season is upon us. Archie, excited to have you.
Dude, I'm pumped, man. It's been, I don't know, I think the last one was like earlier this year, but we always have a good time. Always get to some pretty solid questions and good banter. And, hopefully some tinfoil stuff, if tinfoil hat stuff, maybe.
Oh, we got it.
May or may not make an appearance.
We got the hat.
The tinfoil
so all we got to
hat,
do is go down the path. We got the hat.
Arch. It's good to see you, baby. Yeah. We got DJ Archie in the building, crushing sets.
We're here,
crushing the field, doing it all.
DJ Arch.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, man. Now, like I said, it's always nice coming on here. I'm sure we got plenty to talk about, plenty to cover. And yeah, I just always I like joining you guys. You guys are fun to talk to. Obviously, I get to talk to Marcelo a lot more than you, Tyler, but it's always enjoyable. And you guys have some great fans, and yeah, it's just always fun. So I'm looking forward to what we got here.
We love having you, man. And the rumor mills are also popping off. There's a lot of activity going on behind the scenes. Obviously,
dude, I want to hear it, dude. I'm so unplugged on that. Like I literally don't pay attention at all to that kind of stuff. So I'm curious what's going on out there.
That's why we got the show, baby. You know, we're tapped in. We know what's going on in the league, and it was also really cool to see, you know, Major League Paintball and the way that they've been branding everything at World Cup. The field looked amazing with all the new branding. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on right now.
Yeah, I think so, dude. I think the way that they've branded everything and everything they're doing with social media and the push with the YouTube channel, I think all of that is going to pay dividends. I really do. I mean, we've been talking about it for years now, just having enough free content out there that is consumable to people that can stumble across it that don't know paintball, right? And I believe that's going to happen. You see it again on the, you know, Sports Center Instagrams. Anytime there's a paintball clip, people are intrigued by it. People are definitely interested. So getting more content like that out through Major League Paintball, I think is phenomenal. Shout out to the coach. I think it's called the Coach's Corner that they're doing now. It's like Ryan Gray and Mike Bianca. Skinny Kevin was just on their episode. I think it just aired like an hour ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but super cool that is going to be on the Major League Paintball channel. So that's like one of their shows now. I'm really excited to see what, you know, Major League Paintball can do. I think that's really cool.
Right. It seems as though they're definitely running with this thing, the Major League Paintball thing. And I will say it looks professional. It makes sense. And they're putting a lot of good energy into you know, promoting the sport in a good light and being really like extra professional about it, which is you know, obviously is I think a step in the right direction.
Totally.
Yeah, and the way that the logo, the name, everything hits the eye and hits the ears is really nice.
Yeah,
so
it makes sense.
It totally does. And like Tom's out there working it. He's out having big meetings and trying to get this amazing sport that we all love and have applied our lives to in front of the mainstream and taking paintball out of the woods finally, which I feel like has been our mission, you know, because we're still in the woods. I don't know if y'all
we're still in the woods to most people.
Still in the woods.
Yeah, that's so funny. We're still in the woods. We're still in camouflage.
That's right.
I guess that kind of does check out. You're right. I mean, when you talk to somebody outside of paintball, that's what they think it is.
Typically.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
more and more you are hearing though, where, you know, I'll be like, have you seen like the inflatable kind of bunkers? And I want to say maybe it's around 40%. People be like, yeah, no, I've seen that, you know, and I think that's a big step from where we've been, because before it was 100%. Like, okay, so you like also in the military, you know?
You know, I think I love Tom. He's the man. Like, I don't know if he gets sung enough praise, but he really is like just a joy. He's really intelligent. He's got his mind on the right ideas and the right thoughts, and you know, he's kind of like a broker, if you will, for all the ideas. And anyways, I always think he's doing such a fantastic job, and he's got the right attitude, the right mindset. And you know, overall, I do believe he's one of the better, you know, kind of centrists that we could have as like the front of the league and the steer, you know, to steer the direction of where this thing is going, you know. But yeah, my hat's always off to that guy. I really, really do enjoy him.
Man, could you imagine being Tom? How many people are just hollering at him all day?
Like, and you know, again, like I probably talk to Tom a few times a year on the phone, and he always makes the time, and it's important for him, you know, or at least it feels that way to me, that he hears these conversations and these talking points. So yeah, again, like I said, I think he's doing an excellent job, and overall, you know, not everybody's going to agree on certain things, but I would say that most people agree that Tom's doing a pretty damn good job.
Hell yeah. He genuinely cares about this game and all the players, the owners, all the sponsors that make the league come to life. Like, he is truly invested, and it shows in everything he does.
Big time.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think it consumes him 24/7. I truly do.
I'm pretty certain of it.
Yeah. I think he is constantly working, thinking, focusing on how to build paintball, how to build the NXL, Major League Paintball, Woods Ball, everything. Like, I think it truly consumes him, probably to a little bit of a detriment. I'm like, Tom, take a break, you know, like relax a little bit. But his mind is constantly going. And I like that you use the word centrist, because I agree with that. I think he's very open to all ideas and possibilities. And he does a really good job of kind of filtering things through, you know, a good collective and then trying to come up with the best idea.
Right.
Again, does the best result always come out? No, that's fine though. We're constantly trying things, and I'm totally on board with it.
Yeah.
Totally on board with it.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the
Stop
buzzer 3-7? Archie, how did you like that?
Stop it.
I think, you know, there's a few things I think. One, first off, like in general, I know this was like kind of like a last minute rushed idea, you know, but like sometimes I feel like when the league does stuff like that, it would be better poised if we had more heads up on this and like a little more discourse back and forth. You know, honestly, I thought it was better than I thought it would be after playing it and watching it. You know, it was an interesting point scoring situation. But, you know, to me, the ultimate flaw was just the fact that you're just not really in a flow in the game. It's like you play a point and then you're playing another point like 6 or 7 points later, something like that.
To be fair, the format wouldn't be like that, right? That was just to get it all in one
to
day.
do it there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
just to be fair on that point.
Okay, that's fine.
No, I'm with you though, Archie, because we're trained as athletes right now to get into this flow state in our style of play.
Well, it's a part of playing at the high level of anything, you know, not just paintball, right? So that's one thing. But then the other thing was also just clearly the best teams didn't win, you know, and it's obvious, you know, like neither of the teams that were in the finals even made the cut, I think. And I'm not sure what the top 4 of that event was, but just in general, you're playing such a limited amount of points and anything can happen in 1 or 2 breakouts, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, to me, that is definitive that the best team isn't going to necessarily win those games, right? Those matches, if you will. You know, I don't know. I think it's important for any sport to have the outcome of the best team winning. You know, that's what a legitimate sport is. It's not a team got lucky or a team won a couple of points. This is the clearly definitive winner, you know? And so, yes, when you're playing limited reps or limited points against a team, you know, potentially the best team may not win most of the time. And that's the whole point of sport, in my opinion, you know.
It's like if in football, they just played 2 possessions, you know, you get one chance on offense and one chance on defense. You'd be like, ah, shit.
Right. Exactly. A lot can happen, you know, I mean, and we see this, see this, and there's tight games throughout, you know, a full NFL game, you know, that are decided on one possession potentially or one mistake. Right. And that's a testament to how good the teams are, you know what I mean? But at the same time, if you just, like you said, if you did it in 2 possessions, like, oh man, that's not necessarily the best team's going to win every time.
To me, the biggest flaw in the entire thing, and I don't know if it actually happened, but to me, the biggest flaw in that format, one, I agree with everything you said, Archie. I'm always pushing, like, the best should be rewarded. We should try to find a way to separate skill, not, you know, make it more equal across the board. In my opinion, you want to highlight skill, training, you know, all the things. To me, the biggest, from a viewership standpoint, is if you have a game, if there's only 3 potential points, 3 periods, and you have one of those points is a 5-on-5, say it comes down to a 4-on-4 or a 3-on-3, and it's, as a viewer, you're watching and it's getting really exciting. You know, it's like Archie versus Tyler on one of the sides, and the setup is getting really intriguing, but no one even has the 3-point bunker yet, and no one's winning the point. And that 4 minutes expires, and then those 6 players just get up and walk off the field and no point gets put on the board. As a viewer, I'd be like, I just got robbed. One, I want to see the end of this point. Like, this was a really good setup. It was about to get really good, and no one even scored. Like, that's crazy. That's a major potential flaw, in my opinion, in that format. And that might be the biggest one, you know, outside of all the other stuff, which I think is pretty big.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't quite think about it like that, but you're right. I mean, I don't know how many stales or draws there were like that
I don't
played
know.
out, but yes, that's also a good point. It's like you don't want to have a net tie result ever,
totally,
you know, in my opinion, you know, and especially when there's still bodies on the field, like that's even worse.
My argument, just real quick, Ty, and then pass you the ball. But my argument to that is, even if it only happens a couple times, that was enough for them to try to change it to this format, because they did it because of those long one-to-one matches, which had only happened a couple times, you know, like that's very rare, but it was enough for them to cause change. So sorry, Ty, go ahead.
No, you're good. I love the conversation here. I was just going to say, if it was to develop further, and I mean, the reason they put the buzzers is to move people down the field, right? To get you to the 50s. So theoretically, you need to add more buzzers. There needs to be like buzzers at every 50, and those are 3 points. And then maybe have a set of buzzers behind that at the next row of bunkers, and that's 2 points or whatever.
Right.
And that will, if you're gonna do that, that's the way you do it. Everyone's laughed at me because I'm saying more buzzers, but it is the way, if you're gonna do the points. And I do have to say that I really like the way that the points look, with like, the more points on the board.
I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
I meant to talk about this on the show. We didn't on the last episode, I don't think, but I
think
agree
you did
with
briefly bring it up.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. There was, and I've been like probably the biggest open critic of that whole format. So for me to, say this, it's kind of meaningful to me when I was watching the gameplay and you saw like 21-0 or like, 7-3 and the score was going back and forth, like at a kind of rapid rate. There was a little something cool about that. I don't know what it was. It's just in your mind. It doesn't even make sense.
Exactly.
But there was something about it that was kind of exciting. And I remember Thursday morning when we were watching the first set of matches, it was a close game. It was back and forth. It's like, I forgot what two teams were playing, but it was 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3. And then it was like 5-5, right? And I remember thinking like, this scoring is a little boring. I had that feeling, whatever that means, but I was like, the scoring's a little boring. It reinforces my point about making, if a point is scored in under a minute or under 30 seconds, it's worth 2 points. Just having like something where you can have 2-pointers or even 3-pointers. There was something exciting about that scoring. I will give that format that credit. That was one takeaway that
I heard you describe it about like that, Marcelo, I kind of actually did kind of resonate with the idea because it was. And I don't know if it's like necessarily more or less interesting, but it was different. And that made it a little bit like, oh, wow. Yeah. The scoreboard is, it's 10-0 right now or whatever, right. But still like the game isn't over,
Yeah.
One of the thoughts that I had, oh man, it might've just jumped out of my head. What was
Jump
it?
back in.
It was about this format. I'm lost on it. It'll come up later.
It'll come up.
Yeah, the scoring, I think, like even if you add like what you talked about, Marcelo, adding the 2 points or whatever, it does add a little bit of excitement because a game's never too far out of the way. Our scoring system right now is a lot like maybe like soccer is the closest thing you can assimilate it to, You got like 2-2, 3-3,
Totally.
And we could find a way. And a lot of people that watch soccer, they don't like watching football or soccer, whatever you want to call it, because of how slow the scoring is. They're like, I just can't watch it.
Right.
Even though it's the most watched sport in the world.
It is.
It's just Americans don't enjoy it.
Totally. And me personally, I love watching European football, soccer. Like it's exciting to me because we understand it and that we're tied in, but a lot of people don't.
Well, the level of difficulty to get on the board, and to some degree that is like exciting. That's the whole
totally.
That's the whole point of it. Or it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it pays to get paid. Now I realized what I was thinking a second ago was that, and I understand the reasonings for like trying new formats and like potentially changing up things with the way in which we play the game. But one of my conflicting thoughts that I have on this is whether or not the direction of the format changes the overall level of enjoyment, and that's one of the things that I'm always just a little critical or potentially worried about, because, to some degree, like, I still think about 10-man and like, man, dude, 10-man is so much fun. And 7-man, same thing. And like 7-man doesn't really exist anymore, and I think the modern game is fun. I think in different timelines of the sport, I thought it may or may not have been more enjoyable to play, and the last few years has been a lot of fun. I overall am still really enjoying the playing it, but what if that format that makes or breaks this sport in a mainstream way, kind of maybe
isn't fun.
Yeah. What if it's not as fun? What if it's not as complex? What if it's, what if it kind of does cost a lot of the nuances and subtleties that make this game so interesting, because it is so complex? And what if, you remove a lot of those things to make it a little more digestible and at the cost of the game just not being quite what it was,
Yeah. I mean, that's
an interesting thought.
It's a great point. And I think there does need to be, and there is in all sports. It's like the baseball purists, you're not wanting,
Right,
to
right.
remove umpires and that kind of stuff. I think there needs to be a good back and forth with that because, to accomplish one thing, you're going to have to sacrifice
it's
certain things
opportunity
in the
cost.
game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to, really preserve the way our game is played, it might cost those opportunities. And so there's a balance. And I think it's kind of our job as players and voices of the sport to be open to certain changes, but also stand up for certain things for the game.
Right.
If we really believe in it. I do also think our sport's a little unique in that it doesn't have to be played one way. And if there is like the one-on-one thing, or if there is a version of the 3-7 format that does gain a ton of interest,
Right.
that'll be better for, I don't think that means that the way we play it currently also has to go away.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think there's many different ways that we can play. It's kind of like, in snowboarding, you either go down the mountain super fast or you're doing all the tricks, right? Those like two different, I don't know what they're called, but
yeah.
it's, and it's like, in a lot of the extreme sports, there's different types of competitions.
Yeah. I like that you brought up baseball, because I was having this conversation, I think it was during the World Series, a few weeks ago, is that like baseball is such a funny sport, like a funny like sport to exist nowadays, where like everybody else is using instant replay and like overturning calls, and they've got an umpire which is just totally subjective and can make or break a series, you know what I mean, on a call. And it's funny though, but like I respect the fact that they are just purist about that, and like it's kind of cool. And like that also, like, it's a similar thing. What we would say is like, well, you can't let the refs, you have to be good enough to where that's not a factor, you know what I mean? And it's, sometimes people get screwed and sometimes they don't. And that's just like a part of playing baseball. And I do think it's cool. It's unfortunate in certain circumstances, but again, like there's always something you can do differently to have that not be a factor.
100%.
Yeah. It makes that fabric of the game even more exciting.
Dude, it's so funny. And like the fact that some coaches are like there to get thrown out is just like hilarious. Like arguing a call just to get thrown out so it's like I just love that about baseball sometimes,
And to take here, kind of to hit on what we're talking about, to take that away from the game would hinder the show and the excitement and all these levels of, layers of the game that are in there because of that.
Totally true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
It is.
Yeah, I still am a big believer that it's, not going to be the format per se that gets us to where we want to be. I think what we do is exciting. I think the three of us enjoy watching paintball because we understand it. So to me, it's about, again, I'll just sing this till I'm blue in the face, but it's about telling better stories about the players and athletes. Like people, I use this analogy last few times on a show. I love watching football, right? Last night was Chiefs Eagles. Loved watching that game from start to finish. Amazing. Yep. But if maybe the Browns are playing the Titans, it's boring to me.
Right.
The format didn't change. I just don't care about the players playing. I don't care about the teams. Yeah. I'm not invested. So it's not that the format's less interesting. The format's the exact same. I just care more about certain teams and certain players. And it's the same thing with basketball. It's the same thing with all sports. And I think that resonates with most people. People that watched the Formula One documentary bought into, and even I forgot the name of the golf documentary that came out. Do you remember what it was, Archie? It was kind of a similar thing to the Formula thing.
Yeah, it was the one. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, it was on Netflix, right?
Yeah,
Covering the tours. Yeah, I forget what
100%. And just watching that alone, now if I, turn on, if golf's on and some of those golfers are on, I want to watch that.
Well, it's a really good point, and it's, I don't know if it gets talked about enough, but like, dude, we're the product.
For sure.
We are the product.
Exactly.
The players are the product.
Yes.
If we're not interesting, if we're not influential, if we're not people to look up to, honestly, the product's boring. And that's the truth. And, just like what you're saying here, like the Chiefs and Eagles, they got some amazing players and some really incredible stories and guys doing really awesome things. And that's what makes that Monday night game like a game that people want to pay attention to. And, a lot of the other matchups, you're just like, that's going to be a lame game, And
you said it perfectly. Yeah, we are the product.
We're the product, dude. Yeah. And again, like I wish, it's funny because like in this stage of my career, I wouldn't say that I'm taking like paintball super seriously, right? But I do take being myself, and like I take being a product very seriously, and I don't think enough people in this league do that, and ultimately, again, like if we had more interesting products in this league competing against each other, it would be more interesting to not just paintball players, but to people as a whole.
That's very, very profound. And what you're talking about is extremely important in the success of your career, the success of Dynasty as of right now. Each individual as a product. And what does that mean? Like for you, Archie, what does that mean in making yourself the best product? What goes into making yourself the best product? I'm sure it's not some simplified answer. There's a lot of effort and work and care that you take to do that.
Right. I would define it simply, but it's not that simple in practice, but it's basically a conscious decision on everything you do, So like whether that's the food you put in your body, the things you read, what you're looking at on a day-to-day basis, your spirituality, your overall mindset, and your own kind of like drive, like, am I feeling powerful? Am I doing the things that make me feel powerful? Right? Am I inspired by the things that are in front of me most of the time? Like those things to me are very, very important. And I think when you align those things, you end up becoming a better product, a better version of yourself, the highest and best version of yourself. And that's always a never ending thing. Right.
Yeah.
Cause like, I think Matthew McConaughey has a really good quote. I think it was at the Emmys or the Oscars or something. And he was talking about having a hero to chase, and his hero was himself in 5 years. And he's never actually going to meet that guy, but he's always trying to be him, trying to attain that better version of himself, or be that guy 5 years from now. But when you're doing that, you just keep that level of pursuit. And it's a kind of a really interesting and fun thing. But yes, then 10 years, you look at yourself 10 years ago and you're just like, holy shit, man, I'm way more evolved and way more special.
Yeah.
I'm a much better product of myself, but that's the way I define how I like to do things at the, for the last several years or whatever. But yeah, it's a fun game to play. And I don't know. It's just interesting.
It is. No, I think you described that perfectly. And I've heard that quote from Matthew McConaughey. And it was
really good.
Powerful.
Yeah, it's a good speech.
For sure.
Yeah, I think, again, having the personalities in the game and also just doing a better job of showcasing them.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the next level. Because again,
level.
if you have these personalities and nobody's aware of that, then
Totally.
That's a big miss. You know what I mean? Like it really is.
I think
you
right
have
now,
some of these personalities.
Totally. I think right now, Major League Paintball could probably select 5 players and follow them through kind of like what Hormesis did, but on a deeper level, I think.
Right.
And follow them, next season through all of their travels, their time spent at home, time outside the field. Like on the paintball field could be 20% of the whole thing.
Dude, that is a killer idea, because that's what would connect with people. Like people, again, it's not even about the paintball thing. It's about like, oh shit, these guys are interesting.
Yes.
And exactly. that I can follow, the field thing is like, that's what they do. But like, I can follow this guy being funny or interesting or laughing at the fact that he's like, waiting at an airport for hours and whatever.
Yeah.
Like
misses 3 flights.
His unfortunate circumstances plenty of times.
100%.
Yeah. So that's a really good idea. And what's funny, Marcelo, is like, in order to do that, it takes money, but not that much money to do something.
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot, really.
Yeah.
And that could totally change the way this game is perceived.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I think something like that would be spectacular. I mean, I've said for a long time, professional paintball players, especially the top like 10%, 20%, maybe even, live a exceptional lifestyle with the travel and experiences, from teaching clinics and going to Europe, traveling overseas. These are things that we should be showing everybody, because it's what made most of us fall in love with the game. It's what we all chase and appreciate and talk about the most. It's, none of us talk about the money we get paid from playing paintball, and honestly, I think we talk less about the wins than we do about the experimes. Yeah. It's like
that's like one of my favorite talking points when somebody's like, so how much did you win? And I'm like, it's not even about that at all. Actually,
not even about that.
And when you explain that it's about the pursuit and the enjoyment and the like, really, you're just pushing yourself to see what you can do, that's really what it's about. There's this like kind of like key unlocking a door moment when you explain that to somebody and they're just like, oh shit, fuck, that's quite heavy, like that's potent.
Yeah.
But again, if you don't like know what that's about, you don't understand it, and you can't then make the relation to other things in your life that may or may not hit like that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's why it would be really cool to see like what Marchie's talking about, having a crew follow 5-10 players.
Great idea.
Build some really strong stories off of that. Would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Really cool.
Archie, we got to talk about you DJing at the Oasis. I mean, it looked like it was cranking in there. What was it like? And I know you've DJed a couple other sets, but that was probably one of the bigger ones. That
was definitely the biggest set I've ever played in front of. Cause I don't know how many people were there at the moment, but it definitely a couple hundred probably, pretty easily, but yeah, it was tight. It was really cool. It was popping off. Everybody was having a good time. Weather was pretty good. Yeah, it was really cool to see that. Cause I think we were talking a little bit earlier, but like players party like that hasn't existed in a very long time. I can't say that I've maybe even ever been a part of a players party at the field like that. It was awesome.
It was crazy cool.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. And like hats off to the Hormesis guys. Like they really are visionaries, and they have a grand idea of kind of similar to Major League Paintball. They've got a grand idea of where this sport should be going and direction wise, and like and ultimately like just really out there to like give out enjoyment and like see that maximize, so yeah, it was a really cool thing to be a part of. A little kind of like nervous in a moment like that, obviously,
for sure.
But it was really fun, and I really had a blast. I'm looking forward to doing it again. And hopefully on a more permanent basis, because that was obviously a wild success. So hopefully they can do more of those at future events.
We had to drag Archie out of there every night. He was trying to rage until midnight, single night at Hormesis tent.
One of my, I'm sure we'll get into this kind of conversation a little bit more, but like one of the favorite things for me personally on this team is like the personal sovereignty of, and trust that, I'm going to show up when I need to show up in those moments, and I know that's just not the case in a lot of other teams, and team environment where people are like kind of worried about what other guys are doing with their free time and whatnot. And, again, I think when you have personal sovereignty from your team, it's actually a wild, expression of faith and trust in your guys. And when you're shown that level of faith and trust, it's kind of like a big boost, because it's like, what, my guys got me and they trust anything that I'm doing. Right. And it's a weird secret power to have that level of trust and faith behind you, even if I'm not scouting every game and I'm not, doing everything that I could possibly be doing to maximize my performance. But there are things that maximize your performance that don't necessarily get talked about or understood or explained, but again, that weird, powerful faith and trust that I'm doing what I need to do to perform is like I said, it's quite freeing.
I think that takes a long time to earn, though, and it does have to be earned. I think it takes certain special individuals, and it is something that makes our team unique, and actually took me a long time to let go of, because I'm the total opposite. I want everyone to be together, everyone to be doing stuff at the same time, the right time, let's be clocked in. But I've had to learn that with this team, we just have players that are beyond that, actually, which is a crazy, wild thing to express. It really is, to say that players can get to a stage where they are beyond that. But it's been proven on this team, and players do have their own way of showing up. Right. But I think that's also something that, divisional teams especially should not listen to and say, oh, this is what we should do, because it's certainly, listen, guys, you guys are not Archie Montemayor, period. You're not. So maybe one day you can be, or better, or yourself in that own right. But, there is a lot of power in being together at events and going through those stuff that we've done for 15 years. Right. But again, I think a lot of the players on our team now are just kind of at different phases, and there's other stuff that does fill us up and allow us to show up as the best version of ourselves, that, your process changes. I mean, the way I prepare for events now is totally different than the way I did when I was 20 years old. It's an entirely different thing, making sure that I feel good is like one of the most important things, not overworking myself, making sure that mentally I'm prepared rather than stuff that I did in the past,
Right.
And everybody's process does have to change along the way. It really does. It's what worked for you when you were 15. If you think it's still going to work 15 years later, that's kind of crazy of you. Everything around you changes. You think you don't need to change, so
Yeah, it's true. What do you got on the subject, Ty?
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I can't wait to. You're gonna be DJing at Vegas, obviously.
Hopefully, yeah, that'd be tight.
We're gonna see you out there again. And then I loved what Marcelo said about it being earned, because that's so true. Archie, you've earned that because your teammates know how hard you work at what you do. They know the mental preparation. They know the physical preparation is there. They know that you're working, and you've earned that ability to be able to kind of, be in your own flow and find your own little freedom, but that your own freedom is connected to this larger freedom with everyone together. And it, like you said, it boosts the whole thing. All that trust, all of that effort that you put in gives you the ability to have that free time for yourself, where they know, okay, I know that this time that he's taking right now is going to charge him up. I know we're going to get the best out of Archie because he's charged, and it's earned. It's not just something that, like we said, all the divisional players don't go out rocking till 2 a.m.
It's not blind faith. I'll say that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's earned. It's a special, unique thing about this team that I mean, none of the teams that I coach have that kind of freedom. I just don't allow it. It's not earned. Everything does have to be kind of micromanaged, and there's a lot of success that comes from that. But it's something that this team has absolutely opened my eyes to. And it's, again, you just have players that have been doing it for 20 plus years. It's
and it is also, it's a testament to, the amount, because again, it's like, it's a testament to how potent the conversations and the dynamic is when we are all there, and if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, one talking point that got brought up at our last practice before Cup was like, when we're all there in a confined small meeting at a practice or like a hotel meeting on Saturday night or whatever, right? When we're all there, those moments, if you think about it over the grand scheme of the whole season, they're few and far between, like we might have a small group conversation at a practice a few times a weekend, you know what I mean? And by a few times, that could be 3, 4, 5 minutes. It could be 10 or 15 if it's taken a little bit longer. But like when you're talking about 10 or 12 guys spending a considerable amount of time prepping, practicing, playing on the field, and that amount of time where everybody's listening to one guy or two guys speak is only 20 minutes a weekend, those moments are like very important. Mm-hmm. And I think, in one way or another, it does give a testament, this idea of like that freedom to do stuff. It gives a testament to how potent those small moments that we have together are, because we get a lot done in those moments. And then we're able to disperse and do what we all need to do in order to show up as our, best product, best self, Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, it is kind of crazy that we don't have a lot of time where we're all there dialed in together, talking as one unit. It's mostly a bunch of individual stuff, some small moments like this, and we're playing a lot, you know what I mean? And a lot of small conversations between, me and Marcelo and Ryan, or, whatever. But the whole thing comes together so few amount of times, certainly in the amount of minutes compared to the overarching theme of a weekend where there's so many conversations going on, so much dialogue, Mm-hmm. So those little moments together with everybody really are very powerful, and that's why it's important to be efficient with those times, because if you're not efficient in those small moments, they end up dragging out and people get lost in their own version of what's happening. And they can end up being, a waste of time instead of being like a very potent moment, and I think that we do maximize a lot of those times. And certainly sometimes we're like, okay, we're spinning the wheel here, but, in general.
No, the value in those moments is so important to recognize, right? And getting the most squeeze out of those moments. Mm-hmm. And really, that's when you boost. That's when you move the wheel in the right direction so that you can maximize those precious moments when you're all together. Because like you said, you spend all this time at the gym, at the field, together, even at the field, playing points. And then those moments where you have that time to talk and really be together, we can't waste it, with this, that, or the other. We got to make sure we're moving in the right direction and boosting that thing up.
Yeah. One of the things that I do personally take a lot of, a high level of importance on the full team discussion, in the sense that, like, if you're talking to everybody on the team, again, I can count the number of times I did that this year on basically two hands. Right. So to me, I feel a very great responsibility to use that time wisely, and it needs to be like heavy, it needs to be powerful. Because if not, you're going to lose the room, you're going to lose the audience, and then potentially you may not have that audience again. It's like those moments are just so few and far between. They need to be of the utmost importance,
Yeah. And getting like everyone involved too, we're all a team. Everybody that is a part of a team, it's so valuable to hear the unique perspectives and then round that out and move the ship in whatever direction the unit is pointed. We got to move it and all be on the same page. That's where it happens, is in those huddles, in those connections, in those conversations.
Yeah. I mean, and like what you just said, like being on the same page, like, to me, that's what defines championship teams, like it is what defines this team, is we're on the same page most of the time,
Takes us a while to get there.
Sometimes it does, but
actually,
yeah, go ahead.
To your point there, Archie, and you said this earlier in the season about, when it's your turn to speak up in a meeting, or when you want to, hold the microphone, you better be really well thought out, because if not, you do lose the room. Right. And I think that assists in, like, we get just great ideas because everyone's aware of that. So there's not a bunch of gibberish going on. It's like a lot of really well thought out, theories and concepts of how to play a field, or what players should be doing, or discussions about their spot.
Right.
And I think heading into World Cup, probably the most powerful moment we had was the hour-long meeting we had Sunday after practice, after the whole weekend was done. And we sat at X Factor Paintball Park for about an hour, really hashing out things that went right and wrong, and I think we took that into the event, and it's, you're stealing reps that way. And I think somewhere in the last couple of years, our team decided it's not so important to play 50 points in a day. It's more important to play 20 good points and really talk and discuss about what works, what doesn't work, and how we want to play the field. Right. And it has become so powerful, in my opinion, and I think that is something that does translate and trickle down to, divisional teams as well. Having some more conversation about what's going right, what's working for you, what's not working for you. Because if you're just going through the motions, you don't have, you're skipping steps. You brought up a good point, Archie, on the field about, how, one of the positions on the field didn't recognize how hard it was to do something, or why that wasn't the right play to make. Right. And it was simply because we weren't having a discussion about it until we sat everybody down and got everyone together. And we're like, yeah, obviously this makes sense. It wasn't working for me. Well, 9 other players can learn that from having the discussion. They don't have to go through it.
Right.
They don't have to play the spot. You can steal reps from your teammates. So I encourage all teams out there, when you're preparing, especially on a layout, talk to each other a lot. Talk to each other about what went right, what went wrong, what stopped you, what shot you on the fill. How, if you were supposed to go somewhere and keep somebody from getting through a zone, but the other team countered with something that made your job not possible, express that, because that should now be part of your game plan. There's ways to unlock this, but you have to communicate with each other. You have to share the dialogue, share the concepts, share the ideas. That's something that I think not enough teams do, at least at a high level.
Right, for sure. And again, like, that's what's so interesting about, like, what it takes to win. There's so many nuances, and sometimes it's little tiny minute details on the types of conversations you have about a position on a layout, and whether or not that conversation happens early enough in the practice for you to, like, make tangible, improvement, in enough time, right? So that you can eventually evolve that deeper and deeper and deeper, right? But if you start late, you don't have as many reps to end up getting deeper into that progression, But that I think that's what also makes it so like rewarding and powerful to win, because there's just so many variables. You can't control everything. You can't watch every zone. It's the grand total that you're in control of, to some degree, when is what it takes to win, and it's a lot of little things. And it's a lot of things that maybe just went your way and didn't go the other team's way sometimes, and you could look at that in almost every winning performance. There's few that are just totally dominant. I know we've had a couple like that over the last couple of years, but like some of them, like this event at World Cup, where there's, that event could have easily not been ours to win. But in general, the total effort, the total thought, the total spirit, of our team is what got it there for us. You know what I mean? And that's how you make things happen over time, the total of all the things that you're doing, and I think your spirit as well.
That's so well said, man. And it's way more difficult than it sounds. Yeah,
dude.
Like there is a formula, obviously. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a formula, and I feel like, without doubt, Dynasty has an excellent formula. There's no way that you guys don't and are winning the way that you guys are. And that formula is easy to write down on paper, but to actualize it in the physical fabric of space and time in real life is one of the most difficult things you will ever experience in any sport, paintball, whatever you choose your sport. So it's easy to write down, it's easy to say, but to materialize it is a whole nother monster. And it takes everyone being on the same page. And then the magic starts to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well said. You're right. It's easy to talk about.
Dude,
it's easy to talk about.
For sure. And, speaking of projects, I know that you've been working on anodizing as well. You've taken on a whole nother adventure. So I kind of want to hype that up for you. Tekniq, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's funny. I guess I haven't really like made a like total blanket like announcement of this thing. Some people don't really know, but Ryan and I were partners in project, and I guess like earlier this year we started learning. Actually, about a year ago we started learning how to anodize over the winter of last year, and then in through the spring. And we start. Essentially we're anodizing guns now. We're doing it. We're learning. We're figuring things out. We're taking guns in kind of like loosely, not a lot. Where a lot of the stuff we're doing is for our own personal brand. Like at World Cup, we had like, I think around 8 or 9 custom guns that we had done. And we sold them all there. Nice. But we do some customer guns as well. And then like I've done my personal gun a few times this season. I did Marcelo's MVP gun for Cup. And I know I'm going to be doing another one for him this coming season as well. And probably some of the other guys too. But it's been a lot of fun. It's a really cool process. One of the things that I think is really fascinating about it is like when you sit, not just about this, but anything, if you sit down and you make something, like at the end of the day, we're working on something and you have like a tangible item that you're done with when you're done, like to me, that's
a piece of art.
It's literally a piece of art. It's something that you made physically, and you can say, wow, I did that today, or I did that yesterday. It's pretty rewarding, and don't get me wrong, it can be maddening at times too, because, it is a learning process. And thankfully we're like towards the end of that learning portion of this deal. And then we'll start to figure out how the business side of it comes together and works in our favor the best way possible, But it's been fun. It's been a journey, and I'm just ultimately like really excited to continue to make cool and unique things. It's a compliment to our other business, in a lot of ways. And that's why we decided to do it,
Absolutely.
So it's fun. It's great. And it's art, there's nothing cooler than seeing like really tight one-of-one guns out there, like on the field, whether that's for a customer, whether that's for your teammate, whether that's, literally me just like pumped about using this thing. You know what I mean?
And
like it's freaking awesome. Yeah.
The YouTube, head over and check out Archie's holding up his whip that he did himself. You know, he's
Yeah.
cooking up his own
I
whips
did,
right
I
now.
did this one literally the day before practice, 2 weeks before the event. And then I put it together that night before I flew out. And
Yeah, it looks fire.
yeah, it's a
Well, I
tight
gotta
one.
say, Archie, after getting my gun anodized by you and Tekniq and having our World Cup experience, I will never be going to another anodizer again. So
Thank you, man. You did it
I'll be
well for you did it well
Tekniq
for the
for
week,
life.
man. Jesus. Yeah, he put the stamp on it for sure.
And
Tekniq for
you
life.
did one for yeah as well, I think
Oh, that's
recently.
right. Yeah, we did. His is pretty tight too. He's got some
Yeah.
like kind of ghost cheetah print in it on it,
Yep.
and a real cool blue
Oh,
on that
sweet.
one. That's like
Yeah, it looks
one of my
good.
favorite blue colors.
Yeah, you crushed it on that. And it's like you said, it's an art project and it's a learning curve, but you guys have been doing really good. And it's going to be so powerful for having that alongside projects so you can
Right.
cook up amazing looks on those.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, we make unique stuff and like limited stuff, and anodizing is also a subset of that. So like to be
Mhm.
able to potentially control some of that as well in-house, it's quite nice, so yeah, I'm looking forward to expanding on that on the project side of it with the help of Tekniq, obviously. So yeah, it's kind of looking forward to the next year and seeing how that all plays out. We've got some big stuff coming on both businesses there, and yeah, just kind of really looking to spread out, and be a little more potent in that space, in both in the unique kind of custom space, and then also in the anodizing space.
Mhm. Yeah, if you're not already following, it's project_PB. Is that
It's
right?
project_PB. Yeah, I think there's a lot of project paintball. It's other things on there. Yeah, but honestly, the
Yeah.
easiest way is to, if you follow me, I'm easy to find. It's just kid_arch ARCH, and then I have a link in my bio for those as well. So it's
There we go.
easy that way. Yeah.
Yeah, so go support Tekniq, go support Project, show some love, give Arch a follow as well, and
Yeah,
follow
thank you,
everything
guys.
he's doing over there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's yeah, we got some exciting stuff going on. We got some more guns dropping next year. We've got some stuff going on early in 2024, like really early in 2024, which we'll be announcing here pretty soon. Looking forward to that. And then we're hopefully going to be taking down a pretty sweet force going on for the hopefully middle of the year or fall. So
Nice.
that'll be a cool one. We've been working on it for a while, and I'm just generally looking forward to being able to like hold a version of my gun as well while still doing it. Yeah, so tight.
Yeah, the Discord is going crazy. They got a bunch of questions in here in
Let's rip
PTG
it.
world.
All right, yeah,
And
let's start. Yeah, let's start through it. I like it.
one of them was about the force. They're really curious to see. So there'll be a lot of happy people out there that are excited to see that, because they had a couple questions in there about that one. All right, let's see. We before we go into the PTG Discord chat, I do want to have like a little rumor mill, section here of the show. There's a lot going on behind the scenes in paintball. A lot of moves being made. Marchie, I'm sure you always have your ear to the streets. You know a lot of what's going on. But there's a lot of free agents that are on the market right now. Where do we think? What's going to happen here? I mean, we're coming into the beginning of 2024. There's a lot of big shakeups going on.
I feel like, I know Marcelo, you're ready to chomp at this one, but me personally, I feel like it's going to be a pretty slow season for like big moves.
Mhm.
I think in general, there's a lot of economic, unrest a little bit. And I think that especially guys with money that's going to dictate their decision making right now. Personally, it's really interesting to see like this diesel camp situation. Like I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine being in Mark's shoes at the moment, to be honest. Like it's a lot of money to not have any results at all, and at the same time, like those players also want to be on a winning team. So like, Mouse or J-Rab didn't podium all year long. Like, man, that's kind of wild to think about that,
Yeah.
and, at the same time, like, that's why, like what you were saying earlier, Tyler, like it's easy to talk about these things. It's a totally other animal to fucking go out there and make it happen, and like, I think people do take that for granted at times, like it's not easy to lead a team, it's not. And if it was easy, they would have done well this year, and they didn't. Like those guys are incredible players, but it's not easy to lead a team, So yeah, I don't know. I'm most curious about how that plays out.
Do you think they're going to stick around?
I I don't know, man. It depends on how, like, it really depends on, I think it probably depends on Mark. Like, how dedicated is he to the number that those guys feel is necessary for them to stay there, But I also I look at it as a long term, just, it's a tricky situation to be put in, like you've got ultimately his team didn't do any better than they did last year, and he's had guys that are dedicated to that team for a long time. And like, I don't know the message it shows those guys when, it's a conflict in my opinion, and, I don't know, I guess we'll see how that plays out, but it's just a tricky one, man. It really is difficult.
That's for sure.
I totally agree with you, Arch. And actually, I really wasn't chomping at the bit because I don't really know of any crazy things that's going on. I mean, outside of what everyone's kind of heard, that the ML Kings might get a full rebuild and Todd Adamson might be buying that program and coming in and maybe rebranding it under Aftershock. I think that'd be like a cool kind of thing, but that's just rumors. Shout out to Vince from Let's Talk Paintball. I got it from Instagram. So again, everyone's seen that. But I agree with you on the diesel thing. It's interesting because there is a lot of economic unrest right now. I don't know if big numbers are still going to be thrown around, and why would they when it shows that that's not the formula? It might be part of the formula, but then also you got to think from a player standpoint for some of those guys. Like, at some point you really do need to consider legacy. I think those guys, they need to make it work there. They need to make it work there. What good does it do going to another top team for another paycheck? I don't think that that's a good look for those guys. And to be completely honest, it's like everything that could go wrong did go wrong for them. I believe if they do stay together, they're going to do a lot better next year. It felt like in Philly, they were right there, and then J-Rab got hurt. He was obviously playing really hurt at World Cup. That matters. He didn't play Chicago, but at Philly, I feel like they were close. They're a dangerous team if they stick together, in my opinion. I really believe that. They have a lot of weapons. They have, they have what it takes to make a deep Sunday run. Right. They have players that have won championships. So, in my opinion, it, like, legacy wise, it makes sense to make it work there. Prove that you can make it work. You got the big payday. Prove that you can make it work. Yeah, I'm just not sure, but I do also think that J-Rab is going to have surgery on his knee.
He said that at the event, I believe.
Yeah, so that puts him out for sure the first event. I know he didn't have it scheduled immediately. Meniscus, the type of recovery that he's going to have, I believe the type of tear it is, they're going to try to repair it, which means it's a 6-month recovery. So losing him the first event, that's tough. Do they try to get another player? I think they do for sure. If Mark, like you said, it depends on Mark's commitment, right?
Right.
But if they can bring in one more, solid player, then they're sitting in a really good position, I think, and they're a threat for next year. But I agree. I don't think there's going to be, everyone was like, oh, it's going to be such a crazy offseason. I don't know that it is going to be. I think a lot of the teams are kind of like, let's roll with what we got. If we can improve a little bit, if we can get one piece that's a little bit better, let's obviously do that. You always want to do that, but I don't know that huge splashes are going to be made.
Right. And what's interesting too is it's like you almost have to overpay to make a splash too,
right.
Like that's honestly been the record over the last couple seasons. It's like, If you really want to make a big change, you have to kind of overpay somebody to do that. And at the present moment, like, I don't know, man, seems like a waste of money.
The one thing that I could see is the impact situation, because there's been a lot of talks of them really cutting the budgets.
Right.
So I could see some players being freed up from there that might only be there for a paycheck. Not sure if anyone even is. I think they have moved a lot more towards players that do care to be there and like playing there. But if that becomes a thing, depending on how far that budget gets cut, maybe players look for a more convenient, less travel. Who knows? Then maybe some players get freed up and bolster up some other rosters. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's potential there, but like you still got to look at it. Like honestly, there's a handful of teams that like pay their guys, and there's obviously different degrees of how well they pay their guys. But like, if those 2 or 3, 4 teams just say across the board, hey guys, like, our budget's going down and it just is what it is. Like, those guys don't have other places to go and like supplement that difference,
Totally.
Like, they're kind of like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Am I just going to stay here because this is where I've been playing, or am I potentially going to switch teams, even though I'm not going to necessarily be in a better financial situation? So it is quite interesting. But like those guys, you know, like Bart ultimately has the power to make the decision he wants to make. And, you know, if he makes a decision, his guys are going to have to decide where the push comes to the squeeze, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a high likelihood that we could see a kind of a trimming in the Impact camp. And then in regards to AC Diesel, I think that resiliency and the tough times, if they choose to stick together, are going to mold them in such a powerful way to where they will perform much better next season. If they, you know, it's when the going gets tough and you leave and then you switch up, it's like, just stick through it. You know,
Yeah. I mean, I totally
go for it.
agree with you, but I just personally look at guys that have a track record of not doing that, you know, like, you know, I don't know. Like I look at Mouse, I'm like, he's a phenomenal player, but like he is only after one thing, and it's a bag. And I look at our team, and if it's brought up to our team, like we wouldn't pick him up because there's no reason to. Like that's in my opinion, that energy is not conducive to like what's best for the team, you know? And I think our team at the present moment is definitely showing what's best for the team, which is like
people that want to be there.
Yeah. People
being willing to make sacrifice.
Yeah.
I think that's why Impact, I think that's also partially why Impact wants to go to that formula.
And I agree with that.
It's funny. The player market's a lot like the housing market right now. All the houses want to keep increasing in value, but less people are buying.
Yeah.
Interest rates are up.
Yeah. I hear they're going down. Well, hopefully they do.
Yeah. Hopefully. But no, it's kind of been proven that that's not the formula. And you're right in what you said. You don't know what kind of message that sends. It does also send a bad message to the team if one or two players are getting significantly more than everyone else. I mean, I'm a fan of players getting paid, obviously, or professional paintball players. I want that. And I think it should be based on your value that you provide to the team from not just a player standpoint, but marketing, all the stuff that can bring any sort of return to the organization, how good of a product you are. Exactly. 100%, a complete product. But at the same time, it can't be the only, well, that's part of being how good of a product you are. It's not, if you're there just for the money, you're not a great product. If you have all of the things, then you're a great product. Right. So I think that value is your value should be way higher.
Right.
And it's been proven. It's absolutely been proven. So I think teams are starting to kind of want to go that direction, especially with, you know, the way the economy could be headed. A lot of people are tightening up, you know, in a lot of areas of spending, and you see it across the board. So, it's interesting. I'm really curious to see over the next, you know, I don't think anything's going to happen. Last year, how much stuff happened in, you know, late January. Right. So who knows? Teams could be kind of waiting.
It's so interesting too. Cause like when you think about it, like late January is just, it's shitty, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, like it's really shitty. And, you know, like the one thing that like I would say about making a choice to leave a team, especially if it's not for like you being unhappy, is, dude, do your old teammates a favor and do it in 2023, you know, because the last minute change is like, it's rude. It's disrespectful. And it's kind of a slap in the face because you're giving your teammates, your old teammates that, you know, I'm assuming have done you right. You're giving them very few options, you know, and it happened to us last year. Obviously we made the most of it. And ultimately I felt like we strengthened our team in general, but you know, maybe we wouldn't have been able to, you know, I would say that we kind of got lucky and we made some good moves and did what we needed to do. But like maybe in a different off season, maybe those options wouldn't have been available to us. And that's, in my opinion, just a kind of a sour, it's just not the right way to do things. And ultimately I think a part of being your best product is doing things the right way, you know? So, but yeah, I mean, nonetheless, I'm interested to see how this all plays out. I mean, I think NRG may or may not. I think I saw something on Vince's thing about them maybe making some plays, and I'm curious what's going to happen to Notorious because they lost their coach and a couple other guys right before Cup. You know, honestly, Tyler, I'm really curious what you guys are going to do because, you know, obviously you guys didn't have a great season, definitely not a great World Cup, you know, and I'm sure Sarge demands a lot from you guys. And also I'm generally curious, like what the overall spirit, you know, what your outlook on the team is, you know, at the moment. Cause, you know, you're obviously like hands down one of the best, you know, and, you know, results are potent. You know, I know you're looking for them.
Dude, it's to say that I am disappointed is an understatement
Right.
of how we performed at World Cup. We finished third in the season, which is a huge failure because we got to the most important tournament of the year and we did not perform as a solidified unit and take it to where it needs to be taken. So we've got to really take a hard look in the mirror and bring the best fucking version of ourselves into this new year. And let me be the first to say, I'm so damn proud of my team. And I freaking love my team. Love my team. Love every player on my team. And I'm so inspired by my team. And I know the potential of this program. So I don't see very much happening on our end. I think that if anything, you're going to see a potent heat coming into 2024. And this one thing I wanted to talk about, it's just work ethic. We got to work hard. We got to care. We got to do everything in our power to bring, like you said earlier, the best product. And when you do that and everybody buys in and we're all working together, having fun, you know, the fun is contagious. It
Right.
also boosts the program.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot of really good development out of that. So yeah, I'm stoked for 2024. I know our guys are hungry, and you know, Houston Heat is not happy with how we finished this season. We made it to the finals twice, and couldn't get that W. So we're really hungry, man.
So y'all were so it was finals in Austin and was it Chicago?
Yeah.
Right. So the middle, the kind of the second and the fourth one, right?
Yes.
Right, for sure. And honestly, like, see, like hearing your, like, I love the way you take ownership, Tyler. Like you're just straight up, like it's on us, you know, and like and that's what makes you, you know what I mean? Like not a lot of people are really that honest with themselves, you know, and ultimately when you're not honest with yourself, you end up just kind of flirting around the same space, you know, for too long, I think, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys do. I'm excited to see, you know, a lot of guys kind of take that level, you know, within themselves, you know, and like, even, you know, like when I look at, it's funny because when I saw the brackets for Sunday at World Cup, I was like, holy shit, dude, this is like the easiest cup to win at the moment. A lot of heavy hitters didn't make the cut at all, you know, and I know it's like almost taboo to say that, but like I look at the brackets and I'm just like, holy shit, there's some of the teams that should be here didn't make it. Like this is the easiest one to win, you know, potentially on paper, you know, or that's the way I looked at it, you know, but that doesn't mean it's ours, you know, like you still have to go do it, you know, it's easy to say that, but that's what I thought.
Those teams got there for a reason,
right? They did.
Like they were
Absolutely.
playing a certain way on that field in moments that mattered. And you know, they were the best at that time.
Right. And you know, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but you're certainly right. Like looking at it as teams were getting knocked out, it's like, wow, you know, you just kind of look at each other like, all right, you know, it's in our hands. It's in our hands.
Right. That ultimately, that's the whole point. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really matter who the other teams are. It's still up to us, you know, and like, it's still up to us to, you know, it's still up to Marcelo to win that overtime point for us in the Tauntaun game, you know, and the freaking point that won the tournament for us. Like, it's still up to our guys to do what's necessary to make it happen, whether it's lucky or not, or circumstantial, whatever, it's still on us, you know, and that's all that really matters. And, you know, it's interesting because like when you look at like the level of consistency overall, you know, like for the most part, it was you guys damaging us consistent wise. And only 2 teams won an event this year, which is kind of like, honestly, that's crazy. That's crazy to think about. Only 2 teams won 5 events. Like, you know, like hats off to us, obviously hats off to Damage because they won 2 events, which doesn't happen a lot of the time. You know what I mean?
And we were in position to,
and you guys were in 2 of those finals.
2 as well.
Y'all could have won 2, you know? Y'all were at the door there. You know what I mean? And it's interesting too, because like, other than those 3 teams, X Factor obviously had a great season, but like, you know, they didn't show up as their best version at Cup either, but all the other teams, it was so inconsistent, you know? And I think it's really interesting. Like I look at the way the layouts have been, and like some of these layouts are very tricky and very hard to be consistent, by design almost. And that's why, like, when you put together, good solid season right now, it's like, man, it's kind of crazy because some teams are like in the finals or in the semis and then like not making the cut at all, or you got a team like Diesel where they're just have a lot of talent, but can't seem to make it work, and that's how good and like difficult the league is right now. The level of play is like the standard is just super high. And I don't take that for granted. Like it's an immense achievement to win a lot of events, period. But like to win an event right now is so hard. It's very difficult, man. There's so many things going on out there and so many variables, and the level of play is just at the peak. So, it's really
exciting.
Interesting. It is. It's exciting. It's interesting. It's inspiring too. It carries a lot of weight right now,
Yeah. 2024 is going to be another really fun season,
as it should be.
There's still like we got Patty Gleason has departed from the Ironman. He's looking for a team. Shout out to Colin Cherry as well. He's one of my favorite dudes
Colin's
out there.
Man, dude.
Yeah. He
Colin's
is
awesome.
He's a free agent right now from the Saints, and word on the street is the Saints are even trying to buy a spot back.
I know.
Stop really?
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! That needs to stop. If anything, let Blastcamp buy it.
Yeah,
man. I don't know. I feel like you need to earn your spot. Like I don't and also it's why take a shortcut? It's like if you can't earn your spot, it just means you're not ready, and you're likely just going to waste your money. Like, go get those reps. Go learn how to win.
I agree.
Go learn how to win in those moments. It's very important. Like, I don't. It's so interesting to me. I don't understand that concept. Learning to win is so important, man. If you don't learn to win, you're never gonna win, and you can't win in the pro division without learning how to win before.
Straight up,
it's the truth, dude.
It's an art. It really is, and we talk about that on the show all the time. The potency of winning and learning how to win and that formula to doing that. And then once you've learned that, then take it up to that next level and try and do it in that division.
Winning in one division it's so valuable for winning in others. It really is, because you remember your power. Like you remember how the power you wield, you know what I mean? And sometimes you have to lose a lot before that, but like, why are you going to lose in a division where you can't possibly win before going? Like, why would you go there before you couldn't possibly win?
I guess we're going to see here shortly.
We will. I mean, don't get me wrong. People do things differently. It's always interesting to see that, but that's what's fun about, this like human experience is, you can kind of like see that things aren't going to work out, but people still want to do things that don't work out sometimes. So to each their
it's funny when you talk about this current run Dynasty's been on. If you really look back, there was a pretty significant drought, at least by Dynasty standards.
Right.
2015, the team lost the first 3 events, won World Cup, so nice finish. But still, by Dynasty standards, it was like, okay, 1 event that year. And then 2016, not a single win. 2017, won the first event, and then not a single win. And like, I think even missed Sunday in that. Actually, that was 2016. But again, a little bit of a drought. 2018, not a single win for Dynasty. But what happened was like 5 of us started playing overseas in Europe with the Expendables, right? Tyler, you came over with us that year. Yosh, Blake, Ryan, myself, kind of the core guys. And we were playing semi-pro and we racked up a ton of wins, right? You start winning together. And then the next season, 2019, we had the Golden State Kings that you were part of, Archie. And it was you and then, a lot of Dynasty guys.
We learned a lot that year.
We absolutely learned a lot, but I make the argument that it was that 2018 and 19 season that really catapulted Dynasty's current run.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I give that season with you guys in Europe as catapulting X Factor season that year.
Right.
I learned a lot with you guys as teammates, and and then we had, and also the year before we were playing 10-man with Infamous and we were just dominating 10-man.
Right.
And again, that's infectious energy. You learn what those small little details are. and then you take them forward, And so, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a good point. Those 2 seasons for me personally as well were quite monumental. And then
you had a magical year that year in 2019.
Right. It was really, really incredible year. Exactly. And again, then, you start kind of materializing those results from winning. And then it can kind of snowball and get you into a kind of a crazy state.
100%.
Yeah. The 10-man events are so much fun too.
Dude, man, those are so cool.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, I wish I need to jump into that arena again. I didn't play any this year, but they're so much fun, man. It's just like pure joy.
It is. It's
shooting at 10 people and also 10 people shooting at you. It's just like, oh man, it's so good.
You're in the thicket, you're in the woods, crawling.
You don't know what's happening out there. It's great.
It's madness. Speaking of 10-man, we were shooting that 10-man paint at each other at this last tournament.
Bro.
Oh god, dude. I think my hands are still pink.
Yeah.
That's not what we wanted.
It was the opposite.
Yeah.
Opposite.
Oh, we cared about the shell,
Day one at
paint.
the event. I'm just like, why did we do this?
Oh,
yeah.
That's so funny.
Well, hopefully we can get the bright shell, the whatever it is. I think there's so many different colors you can choose from with a bright shell that'll look really nice. And I'm hoping we can steer away from the staining pink, but I guess we'll see.
Right.
Yeah, my hands were thrashed.
So
it
bad.
took like 3 days for it to come out.
Yeah.
I will say it did. I'm sure it did help the refs a little bit having that super bright fill when it hits a player. It really stands out.
I am kind of curious to hear what, obviously I'm just hypothetically talking about it at the moment, but I am curious to hear what the refs' take on the pink paint was. Like, did it make their job easier? I'm curious because I don't know. I look at bright yellow paint. I'm like, bright yellow is pretty bright yellow, or bright orange, pretty bright orange, in my opinion. But pink is it's pretty bright, so maybe it did help.
No, you're right. They're all really bright.
Pretty bright colors, though.
Yeah, and I was making the argument that the pink was going to be harder because the refs are trained to see yellow, and so those hits that happen in a millisecond and spray off somebody, it's like you're kind of like, wait, how did that? But you're trained for the signature of a yellow hit, like that's what they've seen.
Well, and also, I guess something I think about is like the red bunkers, like red and blue bunkers, right? Like, I would argue a paint color that's like a contrast to those would actually make it easier too, because like you'd have a protected color for player gear, but also a protected color for bunkers as well.
Right.
Which I don't know why that thought just popped into my head, but I don't know if that's been talked about before. But if you had a standard set of bunkers that were like literally like all blue, then any color that's a really stark contrast to that should theoretically make it easier for them to see.
And also the staining. Say a team has white jersey in their entire jersey. Is
white jersey should be protected. White should be protected. White should be protected. Right. Stop.
I don't disagree.
White should be a protected color. Like obviously you could have trim and names and all that stuff, but like parts, big, blocks of the jersey that are white, like bro, that's it's the infamous special.
Yeah.
Like Harrison comes over. He's like, "Hey,
color for 10 years, but Infamous's jerseys have been yellow for a decade." How is that a thing?
Damn, they're PTGing it the hardest. Holy shit! Damn. And then, so NXL dropped all their dates. We got Vegas, Dallas, MAO, Chicago, and World Cup. Vegas will be March 8th to the 10th. Dallas, April 26th.
I'm so pumped.
Vegas is going to be Vegas. It's going to be incredible. One, being back in Vegas during that time of the year, the weather is amazing. It's one of the best events of the season, hands down. Second best. It's second best. World Cup is number one, and it's second best in my opinion. And then also having the iconic award show in the summit the week following. So Sunday night doing at is it at the Sahara?
Yeah.
Yeah. So doing, they have a badass venue that they're going to do a massive award show for, player of the year, move of the year, industry leader, company of the year, it's going to be big. It's like the, AHSBIZ of paintball, which is AHSBIZ, of paintball, which is incredible that we're going to have something like that. I think it's going to be amazing.
Have they like kind of publicly announced the full spectrum of this thing yet? Because I feel like, at least me personally, and granted, I've been pretty busy since the event, so I haven't really been nailed into my media, but have they like full blown announced everything that's a part of it?
No.
Yeah,
No,
because it is a pretty grand like
Yes.
idea, and it's a big deal. It's not like something small.
It's supposed to include all aspects of paintball too. It's not just tournament paintball. So
Right.
there'll be like, field owners that are awarded things, scenario players, scenario. It's going to be as big as they can make it. This is just what I've heard through conversing with Tom, right? Nothing's been formally announced. So they might, kind of change the direction a little bit, but the idea is to make it a big, massive event and have the entire industry there supporting it. So
I'm looking forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Just the whole thing. I'm looking forward to the hot take, people's opinions on it.
Yeah.
But to me, it seems as though it's like one of the coolest things they've done for the sport in a while. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, and hats off to Quinn, man. He's
Yep.
always going above and beyond to do what he can for the sport and make it as legitimate as possible. And we need these types of things to do that.
Right. It's funny. I really respect the fact that Quinn has really, driven this kind of vehicle a little bit towards, like not legalization, but like legitimizing the sport, like
absolutely.
He's come up with some really great ideas and some great thoughts, and he's pushing them forward and kind of, not on his own, but like, I'm sure a lot of these things start with just a small little idea, and then he's putting a lot of effort and working it and massaging it with the right people to make things happen. And it's cool because, again, I don't know if those things would be happening at the moment if it wasn't for him, and so that's my hat's off to him, because in general, they're good and great for the future of our sport.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And his articles are phenomenal. If you haven't already, go to iconicpaintball.com, check out everything that he's doing over there. Quinn, hats off to you, brother. And then just a couple more like rumor mill things. Russian Legion, or do we see them? I mean, there's word on the street that possibly Sergey, Malloy, maybe some players are going to be leaving. Is Russian Legion going to be around next season?
It sounds like you're the one that has all the juice, Ty. Why don't you share with us, bro?
What's in your book of notes over there, dude?
So, I mean, that is something that is being talked about, but I'm hoping that isn't going to happen, because it's such a powerful brand that we need in the fabric of the sport. I hope Russian Legion will be around for many years to come. I know it's been a tough run the last few seasons, and they've been through a lot, but absolutely love everything that program brings to paintball.
That team for me this year is just so fascinating, because like they're not much has changed, but they've just had a really tough go of it, and like you still look at those guys and you're like, dude, it's freaking Malloy. It's like Sergey, Kirill, all those guys are incredible players, but for some reason they're just not getting it done. And part of that could be, just how difficult the league is right now, and how tight that margin is for everybody, it's really interesting. I don't know, like, cause I still look at those guys. I'm like, dude, they're capable of beating everybody. Like they really are,
They did run into us twice on Sunday.
Right. Yeah.
And I think they played Malloy out of position all year, except for at World Cup.
It's
they had him.
But I still look at Malloy as like, dude, he's good enough to play any position at the elite level. I'm not saying he couldn't be in a better spot, but like he's one of those guys that, like, I look at him like us three, where it's like wherever you put him, he should produce, like.
Yes and no. So Malloy's interesting because he just doesn't shoot enough paint. So when you put him in a 2 role on the snake side, where it's like, and especially with a 1 in front of him that's not experienced, it's different when Smotrov's in front of him, because Smotrov creates opportunity and then he capitalizes off of it. But when he has someone in front of him that he has to like joystick down the field and play for almost, I don't think that's actually Malloy's strength.
Yeah, that's so funny you say that, because like I've been put in that position before too, and you realize like, okay, am I playing for you or am I playing for me? And that it does take away from you if I'm playing.
Totally.
It takes away from me if I'm playing for you as well.
Absolutely.
But again, like we've all been in those circumstances. Like it's just a part of being a good too,
For sure.
That is a part of it.
For sure.
But yeah, I know it's just tricky, because I still just, I'm like, every time I'm watching those guys play or lose a tight game to a team that like they really should be able to beat, I'm just like, what is going on? You know, it's like that emoji where your head's exploding. You know, I'm just like, what is going on over here? You know,
Yeah.
but I hope they figure it out. And you know, again, if they end up going elsewhere like that, you know, that's I wish
Malloy and Sergey back to Heat. Is that what we're hearing?
Dude, if you know something I don't know, please tell me. But here's what I will say. Paintball is all about momentum and
Subject
energy.
change. Confirmed. Right? Malloy and Sergey back to Heat. You heard it here
on PGG.
That is not confirmed at all. But what I will say is it's about momentum and energy, and you know, it feels like the momentum and the energy has just shifted a little bit for those guys. But like Archie's saying, at any moment, those are some of the best players in the world, and they can steal games and steal tournaments.
Yeah,
they're
agreed.
Kick-ass players.
What teams would they go to?
Yeah, see, I just don't know the Russian kind of like visa situation either. So like, I just don't know how. I know, obviously, I'm pretty sure you probably know of it a little bit more than I do because you guys have y'all have had some visa issues before. You know, like I know at some point you guys didn't have some of your guys, and you know sometimes they're there. So like, I just don't know how that all plays out into that system. You know,
it is difficult. You know, it's a juggling act to make it all come together, and sometimes it's just out of your control. Right. And you know, so hoping the best for all the guys over there on the Russian Legion, and for, you know, if the team does have some mix-ups, hopefully they all are able to still keep playing paintball, because it would be, talk about products, right? Those are some of the best products that we have in the game. Some of the funnest players to watch play paintball.
Yeah, I mean, I it's pretty easy to say that Malloy is like a lot of people's favorite player to watch. You know,
he's a dog.
A lot of pros' favorite player to watch. You know,
like,
he's a fascinating guy to. Yeah,
see his 2-on-1 against Infamous.
I did not.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, an incredible failure by the Infamous guys, in all honesty, in the 2-on-1, but also just such high level play from Malloy. He went to their snake corner in a 2-on-1. You know, you have Joey B in the tower on the snake side, and Nate Schrader, who was over on the Dorito side, and it's just Malloy. He goes to their snake corner, which is a small cake. Joey and Nate both recognize where he's at, so they shift their body positioning to face Malloy and gunfight towards him. Malloy, out of the small cake, gets himself back into the snake insert small temple, so he can engage in a gunfight with Joey B.
And at this point, he's close to him, right?
He's close to him. He's one bunker away there. Yeah. And instead of Nate, you know, Nate like came backwards to try to protect the buzzer instead of using the advantage and just going down the field like, hey, Joey, you protect the buzzer and I'll go hit the buzzer, you know, or get behind him. It's like so many ways they could have won that. Man. And so Nate like backtracks to their Dorito 1, and Malloy recognizes this and realizes Joey's gunfighting, you know, tape side. He looks inside and just walks towards their back center, shoots Joey in the back, engages with Nate, and then on the move shoots Nate. It was like crazy. It was like, dude, how did you let Malloy? And the whole time Malloy's like kind of walking.
Yeah.
It was like, it was incredible. I actually went back and watched it again just because I remember while watching it live, I was like, that was just insane. I wanted to see like how good it was. And Malloy just picked them apart.
Dude, you know? I mean, I love it, dude, because that also gives you an insight into Malloy's like own personal level of trust.
Totally.
In himself.
And absolutely.
Like, you can learn something from that.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm gonna have to go watch that game now. But
yeah.
And that was a game that like mattered, right? I mean, well, it definitely had to have mattered, you know, definitely just the way it all played out.
Right.
Like, you know, potentially Infamous has a better showing, or definitely a different draw if they win that game.
Yeah. It was like the first or second prelim game.
Right.
Obviously matters. Infamous, I think, lost the first round on they did lost the first round on Sunday. So I mean, it could change, you know, the outcome.
Yeah.
But
the way he was reading the seams, that was the most impressive.
100%. Yeah, it's just, you know, seeing where the guns are, knowing where you need to go to block one of the opponents out, get the shot, and then sell out and know that you're going to connect on your first ball on the move without a bunker in front of you. It's like,
well, there you go. That's why we were talking about him earlier.
The man bear. Man bear. It 100%. Just takes people down, dude. And he does it all the time too. It's like it's not some random thing. This guy is just an absolute dog out there. And he's like reading you better than you are reading him. So he's got the advantage because he's reading those seams.
That's I mean, again, like reading a scenario and making a decision faster than someone else.
Yeah.
you know, by the time they've even made a decision or been aware of a scenario, you've already
Yeah.
done something, you know, and that's like honestly kind of defines sports right there, you know?
Yeah.
You know, somebody's aware and reacting, and you've already been there and done that already. You've already done something different, you know?
Yeah, Malloy's one of the few players that he could go to any team and they're instantly better, you know, instantly a contender. And if he went to one of the top teams, he would solve a lot of issues, especially the position that he plays.
Right. Yeah, he's a unique. He's a unique individual, right?
Yeah.
And he can kind of he can do it all, especially if he's around like the right people,
right?
You know, yeah.
Is Revo rebranding? Is that what's going on as well?
Maybe to Arsenal. I heard about that a while ago. I don't know if there's much truth to that, but I am here. Oh, that's part of the rumor mill.
Yeah.
There might be 2 big name players from Revo leaving and going to the Ironman.
Oh, I did hear that too, actually. I don't know how like substantiated it is, but
seems pretty serious.
Man, that's super interesting too. Cause like, I mean, I don't know. I look at it like the Ironman, in my opinion, there's not a good enough like backbone on that team to like really do a solid rebuild, you know, like that's the way I see it. And obviously you look at the roster from this past year, it's like a little too many things. There's a little too much.
Too many pieces that don't
too much.
fit.
Yeah. There's too much going on.
Weird.
Like you really need a core, like a solid core. And if you want to be like a top 4, top 8 consistently, like those guys it's hard to have those guys. It really is. Like you either need a lot of time playing together or like a really solid core that can like kind of manipulate and like make a lot of things work, you know, but like those are 2 very difficult things to have. It's one's either time under your belt or like 2-3 guys that are like, you know, really on it and can make a lot of things work for them, you know.
For sure.
So it's interesting. I look at the position they're in and it seems daunting to me, you know, but I love that they're like making an effort, or at least it sounds like they are.
Yeah.
And obviously, like again, if the Revo guys do that, you know, that's going to be an interesting challenge and test for those guys, you know, because it's freaking hard. I mean, they've been trying to do it with Revo for a long time, so you know, it's tough.
Yeah, it seems like every season it's like Revo, there's like these rumors, are they going to be around? Are they not? What's going on? And then they come out and they have a showing like they did, you know, they took down Damage at Cup.
Right. Man, it's so funny too, because like I called that game, you know, on Sunday morning. I was like, man, I don't know. I think Revo's going to take him out. And it was a tight game, you know. I think Revo even kind of blew it a little bit at the end there, or in the middle of that match, but I don't know, something about that game. And also like one of the, you know, we were talking about this last night in the Champs Club meeting, is like, you know, Damage ultimately, like they showed their hand against us when we played them in the prelims. Like they went fucking short roster. We're doing this. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. And, you know, I know Joey's going to listen to this, but I think they made a big mistake in that, you know, like you show your hand, you showed your hand.
It's funny. If you win, it's like, okay, now if you lose, then it's super deflating.
Right. Exactly. Like
it's a you know, no-win situation almost,
you know, and again, like I think everybody deserved a Dynasty Damage finals, you know what I mean? But like, you got to get there. And sometimes it means not showing your hand until you need to show your hand. You know, you show your hand early, and guess what? A team could come in and play against your hand. And in a game where you're talking about 3 or 4 or 5 breakouts that determine a match, like, you know, having to show your hand before you needed to show your hand could be the difference maker on whether or not you win that match or not, you know, because it's still paintball and anybody can shoot anybody. Do I think Revo's the team that's better than Damage? Absolutely not. Do I think that they took advantage of that game? They did, you know.
Yeah.
And part of the deep Sunday run is sometimes being able to show a new hand on Sunday, you know. And
it's a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, you know. And you know, by the time you get to Sunday afternoon, obviously, like the hands have been played, you know, for like we know what Impact's doing, they know likely what we're doing, but you don't want to be in that position where they know what you're doing on Sunday morning. You know,
100%.
You just don't.
100%.
So, yeah. Anyways, but hats off to Revo though, man. A great showing, and they could have easily been in the finals. Like they had a
Yeah.
tight game. It seemed like there was a little bit of drama in that game. I haven't rewatched it or anything like that, but during the match, it felt like there was some drama. They were definitely complaining about a lot, but it was a tight game. They could have, one more shot connecting, and they could have been in the finals easily. So, and also actually now that I think about it, like hats off to Impact as well. Like. Absolutely. They hadn't had the best season all year. They played really good. We had a great practice with them the week before the event, and that they obviously could have won the tournament too. So like, I'm sure Bart's feeling a little bit better about the core they have there, and I think in general their team kind of spirit and cohesion is good on that end. Like I like a lot of those guys, and almost all of them actually, and they got great players and a good obviously a good system and a good owner, and Dave obviously is a part of that as well. And so yeah, it's good to see them kind of back in the mix and back pushing and kind of like forcing teams to play their best. That's kind of really the whole point of like competition in general, is like you want everybody at their best so that it means something, like
absolutely.
Like I look forward to like more meaningful battles with like Heat at the top of their game. That's literally what competition is about, and that's really why we play this game.
Yeah. No, you said that perfectly. And shout out to everybody that was in the crowd, everybody that was at the tournament. It was going crazy.
The crowd was sick. Yeah, that was actually really badass, dude. Dude, one of my favorite moments of the whole week was when we were on the field with Impact before the game, and there was like a group of like 50 rowdy Canadians singing their anthem. And honestly, like, dude, that was dope. Like my wife is Canadian, and I had some Canadian friends there as well. And it was funny because like I knew they were probably feeling some level of conflict. And in my head, I was like, sing the damn anthem with them, because like that's what sport is. Like, it was awesome. Like people like giving a shit, and people kind of like supporting their guys, and that was a cool moment, dude. That was really powerful. It was dope.
What was great is a lot of the players were singing the Canadian anthem wearing Dynasty t-shirts, because they're from the Masker paintball team that we did it. Ryan and I did a clinic for earlier this year.
That's funny.
They're Canadian,
that's guys.
but they had the Dynasty shirts on singing the thing. I looked up, I'm like, that's super funny. That's great.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's sport. Like you said, that's absolutely sport.
Right. I mean, that's what makes it cool. And again, like you said, Tyler, the crowd was just, man, that was incredible. Yeah. And honestly, the last like 5, 6, 7 years at World Cup in particular, it's been really pretty powerful. Yeah. Those bleachers and that VIP for whatever the last many years has been pretty damn special. Yeah, it's cool to play on that stage.
We have, paintball in general, we have one of the best sports communities in the world. If you want to put us up against any sports community, I'd put paintball at the top, just because it's such a tight knit, close fabric.
I think you nailed that. Like, because if you think about it, that's why a lot of people are so into paintball. It's the sport is incredible, but the community is like there's none better. Like it's really special, and it's really tight, really close, and it's really cool. It does kind of trump a lot of things. This community in the paintball sphere is really it's magnificent.
That's why I'm so excited for the future of this game, because I know, and we all know, the potential of paintball, and that's why there's a fire in the belly of this game right now, and we're excited to keep growing it, having fun shows, having great tournaments, and just keep boosting paintball to the moon, baby. We're buying a damn rocket. We're going to do a show from the moon at some point. We're going.
I have to get over my fear of heights for that.
I like that one. I like it, dude. Well, and that's why ultimately it's also really powerful what you guys are doing. You guys are sharing these moments. Like, if you think about, like human beings in general, like we're actually all quite similar, right? Like we have things that are going on in our world, and, for the most part, we want to share the things that fill us up. And that's why like conversations and storytellers like you guys, bringing interesting people here and like sharing these moments and these feelings and these thoughts, and that they can be powerful. I know I don't just speak for myself, but like paintball has completely changed my life, and like obviously definitely for sure for you guys as well, and almost all the people that we know that play this game in a meaningful way. So like to be able to have a community that understands that, and groups of people, groups of individuals that are sharing their stories and kind of helping grow this thing, it lives on, and it's really, it's an amazing thing to be a part of, to be a fan of, to be a witness of. It's really, really incredible.
All love for paintball. It's what a tremendous honor too, to be able to like pave the way and help build the framework of this thing that we're going to send off into the future for the new generations to come through and play these different styles in different ways. And we had a hand in helping build all that.
Yeah. I mean, being first is potent, man. You guys were, honestly, y'all like kind of did this before anybody else. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yes, without a doubt.
Can't totally take that. Got to give it
Maddie
to Carl
Marshall.
Markowski and Maddie Marshall.
Yeah,
those are the two pioneers
Carl,
of it. 100%. Yeah.
Right.
And, I think the biggest thing is we've just stayed really consistent with it. And a lot of that is because of people like you, Archie, who express gratitude for coming on the show and share amazing stories. And the listeners that, I mean, I'll never forget, Tyler, the first World Cup that, in 2020, right after we started the podcast, we started it during COVID that year, showing up to World Cup, walking around and people just shouting, play the game. Yeah, Marcelo. Yeah, Tyler, play the game. I was like, dude, Tyler, you think they listen to the show? Like, wow, that's sick. What? Yeah. People are tuning in. So, I mean, the community has just boosted us. I say this all the time too. I truly believe I've become a much better player because of this show, because of the conversations we've been able to have with, the best minds in the game, best coaches in the game, best players in the game. I know Tyler and myself, we both intently listen. These are genuine conversations that I would love to have with or without the camera, so there's a lot to be learned and taken from each episode, not just for all the listeners, but for us as well. And it's been it's been a driving force in my success, both on and off the field. I feel like, I absolutely love everything the show has done.
Yeah,
yes, sir. This is for you, PTG fam. We love you. And what else is really cool is right now we have, like, at World Cup, we have more female paintball players than ever before. I think it's the most female players of all time at a tournament. So that market space is growing as well. And we're seeing a lot of ladies taking the field and having fun.
Yeah. And a lot of good ladies too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so I watched a couple games this year of the women's, and they're not messing around.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're coming for blood. They're ready. They're ready to go. And, it's cool to see the development and hear the inside development as well from those camps of the ladies saying, I started 6 months ago, 9 months ago. And in that span of time, to see the development of what they've become in such a short amount of time is super inspiring to other ladies who see, wow, she wasn't that good just a few months ago. Look at her now. She's running people down. She's snap shooting and doing all these things. So it's going to be fun to watch that whole entire market space grow as well. We've been missing out on half of the paintball,
half the population.
Half the population.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see that growing. I think we're going to dive into the PTG World Discord questions here. Get a couple questions rolling. People showed out and always do when you join us, Arch. So thank you, brother, for being here as always. Let's see.
I got one.
Okay.
All right. Future sponsor wants to know. He says, Archie, congrats on signing Colton Dahl as the first official sponsored athlete for the Project brand. What sort of criteria were you considering when choosing a player to sponsor? And will you be looking to sign and sponsor more divisional talent in the future? What can a player do to get noticed and signed?
Okay. So, this one, I got to give my hat off to Ryan, my partner, Ryan Brand. This was his idea. And honestly, when he brought it to me, I was like, oh man, this is a good idea. But basically, like, Colton has sort of made a name for himself as a divisional player. He's a young kind of phenom. He's very dedicated. He's got a great attitude. And he's kind of just taking all the right steps and doing all the right things,
He's a good product.
He's a good product. Exactly. He's got a great support system as well, So, like, when you're thinking about, like, potentially sponsoring a product, an individual, a team, you want to factor in a lot of things, and, longevity and attitude and, work ethic. These are things that are important, and also, like, Colton didn't come and ask us about that, and I also think that's important too, like, he's been doing his thing and he's just really focused and working hard. And we saw that. And, Ryan had a really good idea to try to partner up with a player like that, where, we don't really sponsor players. Like, we don't, we do to some degree, but not a lot. And a divisional player, like, we don't really do that. And not a lot of companies do in a meaningful way. And so, but yeah, we thought it was a great opportunity. We're hoping we can be a sponsor of his throughout his career, and potentially go through the ranks with him. And the cool thing about us is we make other different brands of gear. So like, we find it, quite feasibly possible for us to be able to sponsor him no matter what team or sponsorship arena he's in for quite a while. And so, I'm looking forward to seeing how that grows and how that develops. And hopefully we're a lifelong sponsor of Colton. And I would love to see, him take our spots one day, on a professional team and make a meaningful kind of stamp in this game, just like kind of we have, and I would love for our brand to be represented with that as well. But I think he's well on his way, and I'm excited for the rest of his kind of happenings, so that's kind of how that started. But yeah, it was mostly Ryan's idea, and I agreed with it, and we're going to see where it kind of takes us.
He's such a great kid, and just has, like you said, the work ethic, the mental drive and tenacity to be better, and just an outstanding dude. He's just someone that you enjoy being around. And I think that he's going to have a very, very bright future. So congrats to you, Colt. Way to go, bud.
He needs to start listening to the show. He does not listen to the show, that little punk. But his dad, it's so funny. He's talk about commitment and dedication. His dad sent me a video last night of them watching the football game, and he's just laying on the couch with his full setup in his hand, and he's just like gunfighting with nothing, just watching. And it was candid. Like, you could tell the video was candid. This was not staged. You know what I mean? And I have so many videos of like that have been sent to me of Colton, of just like, he constantly has a paintball gun in his hand, constantly, and is constantly like working and focused on being a good paintball player. It's truly impressive. And he's been that way since I first met him when he was 11 years old out at Level Up Sports. Right. The kid is just a phenomenal individual, a great human. I'm also very excited to see, what he can accomplish in the game. And I love the partnership. I think that's awesome what you guys are doing for him.
Yeah. Go get him, Colt. Let's go, baby.
Nope. He doesn't listen. He needs to listen to the show.
Well, at least send him a text and tell him to listen to this one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We got Lurtz Paintball. He's one of the OG goats in here. Arch, I love supporting players who branch out into being entrepreneurs, especially when it's in paintball. Examples: Project, PTG, Hormesis. How has your success with Project led to ventures in anodizing with Tekniq? And what big plans do you have that's going to separate you from the competition?
Okay, that's a good question. So I think I heard this phrase about a month ago, and it was kind of like remembering your power. And I've resonated with it a lot, and I find it very it hits home for me personally, and it makes a lot of sense for me over the last many years. But like building our first paintball brand, Project, and that actually only happened because I was kind of already my own personal brand, right? And I felt the weight of the success of that first, right? And so when you do something and you feel some empowerment from it, right, you then maybe have a little more zest to try another idea, right? And you feel that support. And so then Project started, and we felt some great support there, and we built that out, and we continued to develop it and nurture it and mature it. And we've been supported quite well, and it's been an amazing, experience. And then again, the anodizing thing is just very similar. It's like you have this, boost behind you, and you feel like you can make some more moves, and do some more things. And don't get me wrong, like, you need to be smart about it and calculated and make sure you're kind of doing the things that you need to do in order for them to succeed. But a lot of those things are things that we already have been training for forever, the lessons you learn in playing a game at a high level, in dealing with teammates and dealing with yourself and being honest with yourself. Those lessons are just like microcosms of life. Like they're happening all the time, and it's up to you to make those relations, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, the anodizing is the next iteration of our involvement in the industry of paintball. And I don't really think I have any other grand ideas as far as like a new paintball venture. You know, I've got some other ideas outside of the paintball space, but yeah, it's the new one for this space, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's been amazing so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing more and more of our guns out there, you know, on the field and being cherished by people. You know, as far as what, you know, might make us different, you know, I think we're going to always be doing things in a creative fashion that is unique and artistic and flavorful, and, you know, putting stuff out there that people are maybe hadn't seen before or thought to do before. Right. And I ultimately, like, that's essentially what project is, you know, that's kind of what we did there. Is we did things that people hadn't thought to do yet. And now people are kind of, you know, doing things that we do. And we're going to probably do something similar in that space, you know. And then another thing that I want to kind of champion in our anodizing business Tekniq is quicker turnaround times. Like in general, the anodizing space is backlogged quite a bit. And I honestly want to be able to offer like a 2-week turnaround time when you send a gun in, you know, which may be crazy. We're not doing it yet. So, but that's something I would love to offer at some point. And I think if we did that, that would be kind of radical in the current space, you know? So yeah, we'll see if we can succeed in doing that. That's definitely a lofty goal, but I like lofty goals. So
there we go.
Pull it off.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
All right, Arch, we got Clint Riddle. He wants to know, what was the last thing you changed your mind about? I like this question, actually.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Man, that's tough. Holy crap. That's a good question. The last thing I changed my mind about.
There's so many different areas you can go with
the
that.
problem is like, what if it's something really stupid? Like I can think of something like pretty stupid that I changed my mind on recently, or at least made a decision to do something differently. Right. But I just don't feel like it's worth the viewership, unfortunately. A meaningful thing that I changed my mind about. You know what? I would say, yeah, I'm gonna change the question to a meaningful thing that I've changed my mind about over the last few seasons or last few years. Is the rigidness of your ideas. You know, like I think being malleable and flexible, especially in a team setting, can be quite it's powerful, you know, and also it says a lot about your level of faith on the big picture, right? I think a lot of times people get so caught up in the little details and the nuances, and, you know, to some degree, this thing that we exist in is happening in a million trillion different ways at all moments, all day long, every day for the last infinite amount of time. And sometimes, honestly, like having faith and like really believing in things, you know, like I have the chills. Like I'm not even describing this in a way that does it justice, but having faith and believing in things is so powerful, man. And maybe in the younger years of my career, I didn't have that level of faith. You know, I believed that I just maybe needed to be so good that everything would work in my way, you know, in every circumstance. And here I look back at like this season in particular, and like, I don't think I was near my best, you know, but I was good enough. And I had faith in being good enough. And I had faith in the moments where I needed to maybe do something or pull something out, that I would, you know. And in the moments that maybe I made a mistake, I had faith that somebody else would be there to pull me, you know, pull me out. And, you know, I don't know. For me, it's been a very powerful practice of self-belief, of, you know, remembering my power, remembering these things that we don't necessarily get taught. You know, we actually get taught the inverse of these things, actually. And Yeah. So I would say that's probably the more meaningful thing that I've changed my mind on,
Damn, dude. That's powerful. And it's a byproduct of the work ethic as well, right?
True.
Like
Yeah, it is true.
the energy and the care that you take.
Right. And to like
allows that.
right, exactly right. And that's true. It's not to say that I have faith because like I just think things are gonna it's like that grand total. Like, you know what? I might not be maybe I'm not my best at this in this very moment, but the collective of thought and energy and influence, right? Even though I might not be my best now or in 5 years or in 10 years, I still do believe that my grand total of energy, effort, thought, all of that, goodwill will have my back, and in a lot of ways, I've just been shown it. I've been shown it to be true, quite like literal truth.
Yeah, man, it's powerful stuff. And it can't be overstated. The care, it just shines through the care that you take in your preparation, because really that's what it comes down to. Preparation is care. And when you apply that kind of preparation, that's where the magic happens. And when you have a whole collective that's doing that, you get a lot of magic pumping through.
Big time.
And yeah, we got Inspired Paintball here who wants to know about your style, your playing style. He says, Archie, I might need to do some research on how you used to hold your marker, but when did you start holding your marker the way you do? Congrats on the World Cup.
This is actually funny. I'm surprised. Like, this only gets brought up like not very often. Like, I had a couple of the Dynasty guys like kind of mention it, but like honestly, I don't recall before. Like, I think Kyle, Marcelo, maybe Ryan might have mentioned it to me like around the time I got on the team or something like that. But like, it's not really something a lot of people have like brought to me before. But like, I know I do hold my gun a little low, but I'm not really necessarily sure why, like where that started, right? Like, I'm not really sure. I do hold my gun a little low. It's not like super low, but a little bit low at times.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. It seems to be working out. Like I feel like gunfighting wise, like I'm as almost like elite,
Mm-hmm.
like I really feel that way. There's only a few guys I would even question really fighting with, and those guys are all like that level too. But everybody else, I'm like, I mean, most times than not, I'm going to shoot this guy out,
When you gunfight, you don't gunfight with it low, though. You bring it up when you're in a gunfight.
Right.
But
But
it's
sometimes I feel like sometimes it might have to do with like my vision, or if I'm like trying to, I don't know. It's like, it's weird. Yeah, exactly. Like I look at it like I'm really trying to see things. And if I don't need to be like totally engaged, I can still be here and I can see everything at that moment.
Yep.
And also like sometimes when you're, one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand well at like a lower level is a lot of people play too tight. It sounds like counterproductive, right? But like, you only need to play tight when you need to play tight, So like sometimes you can play a little bit looser and you're going to get a better awareness of what's going on. And I think in moments like that is when I do that. It's like, I'm not locked into an engagement with multiple guys where I need to be like this tight. I can be like, I can be a little loose and I can get a little awareness and a little better understanding. And I play that edge all the time. Sometimes I look like I'm playing way too loose, but I'm calculating the time to do that. And I think in general, when you're talking about a game of information, like I'm always trying to figure out ways that I can be more aware, more information on my own without any regard to my teammates feeding me stuff too. If I can be slightly more aware 2% of the time, that's a win for me, And so I think that's kind of where that comes into play. I'm not like 100% sure. Cause also it's also hard to say, like, even when you watch a video of yourself, it's hard for you to like, oh, this is exactly what I was doing in that very second, it's hard to do that. Yeah. But I would hypothesize it as like a moment in time where I felt like I could be slightly more aware with my vision and not necessarily need to be in a certain position with the gun.
And you're still shooting paint. You're still
right. I'm still able to control the zone or whatever, It's just like one of those nuances of a certain section, of a point.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have Patty Rice. Oh, he has two questions here. Okay. when Oliver took the photo of the Ano and leaked the Force V2, were you thinking he knows not to post that, right? Right?
Dude, actually, this is so funny. This is hilarious. It was really my fault. Like at first, we were in there and like I had just I did that gun the day before, right? And so like I hadn't even actually seen it finished because it needed to get in the seal. So like I left to go pick him up and I had my buddy throw it in the seal. So he put it in the seal, pulled it out, and I was like, all right, I want to go check it out. And so we picked up Oliver, went and got it. Or the next day we went to go look at it, and he's like, yeah, can I take a picture? I'm like, yeah, sure. Didn't think anything of it, right? And he didn't post it right then and there. So later we kind of had like a long day of just kind of doing random stuff. I think we were running some errands and like hanging out really, which is like, I could talk about that also for like an hour, you know, like Oliver's, I've just got such a joyous friendship with him now. And I feel so honored that like he's here in the States and he's like, hey dude, can I come hang out for a few days? And like, he could literally do that with anybody he wants and anybody, you know? And so for him to like hit me up and yeah, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And so we kind of just do our thing and have fun and, you know, have funny conversations and all kinds of other oddities. But, so later that day we're on the couch and he's like, hey, do you mind if I post that photo? And he like kind of showed it to me and I looked at him like, yeah, whatever. I didn't think anything. And I was just kind of like, yeah, sure. You know, it was just not at all it was just a simple, like, yeah, why would I care? You know, like you took the photo, you post whatever the hell you want. And anyways, then like 15 minutes later or whatever, the you know, ball for soup dude is leaking his own photos from my garage or whatever.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anyways, it was just funny, but no, I didn't. It was really probably my fault. He asked me. I guess I was the devil on his shoulder, giving him permission. Yeah, it was funny though. But honestly, I think it played out well though. In regard, like I think it created some pretty funny hype, and I think it worked out well because then when they officially announced it, it was, you know, had a little more engagement, and it was, you know, it was a little more funny. It was cool. It was a great way for it to happen, I think.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Ollie is the best, dude. I love that guy. He's so funny.
He had no intent to stir some shit, and yet he stirred some shit.
It's just in his nature. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, Oliver, dude. Love that guy. Absolutely
He's the best.
love him, man.
Archie, this has been a really fun convo, man, and we cannot thank you enough for everything that you're doing in paintball, everything that you've brought to this game as a product, a player, and we obviously hope that you have the best Thanksgiving coming up here. It's the holiday season, so nothing but love to you and the fam and everybody out there listening. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Before we leave, Arch, if you want to do any shout outs or drop anything, we just are super grateful for you, bro.
Yeah, for sure. So first off, thank you to you guys. Obviously, y'all put countless hours, and it's pretty amazing to see what it's become, to be honest. Like I always think it's really cool when you guys post the accolades of the show in general, like the grand total of hours and listeners, and it's just like, dude, it's awesome. You know, it's really cool. It's meaningful. It's a testament to like hard work and dedication and what things can become, you know, and I think that's a valuable thing for people to understand, you know, like people are so, what is it called when, they want things now, you know, and
instant gratification.
Yeah. Instant gratification. Yeah. And that's just honestly, dude, good things take time. And that's the truth. And that's, you know, hard work, dedication, that's how you get good things, and nothing good comes easy, you know? And so that's why this thing is good, because it hasn't been easy for you guys. You guys have done a lot of effort and a lot of work and a lot of great conversations and all those things, you know, and not to mention you guys as individual players too, and teammates. So my hat's off to you guys. My hat's off to the supporters of this community. Cause it's obviously, we talked about it earlier, but you know, this stuff doesn't really have a road without those guys, you know, so they support it and it gets legs and it starts walking and running. And now it's going to be on a rocket ship here pretty soon to the moon.
Let's go.
So thank you to the supporters. And then also thank you to my supporters. You know, that's my family, my friends, the people that inspire me, my teammates. And then, you know, all of our sponsors too, you know, JT, Hormesis, Field One, Dynasty, just in general, BFP Gear, project, and maybe Tekniq here pretty soon, hopefully for the team. So yeah, thank you to all those guys. And then, yeah, anyways, I just, it's been an honor. This is a fun one for me too. I really appreciate anytime I get access to this space, it's always a good one. So yeah, thank you guys.
Oh man,
Oh,
thank
yeah,
you,
Arch.
Archie.
Yeah,
You know you got a
appreciate you.
spot on the show anytime you ever want to come on. We're
Yeah.
super grateful, and I know the listeners are too, because you drop gems on their heads nonstop. Bam, bam, bam.
It's fun,
Nonstop
dude.
gems.
It's fun to have these conversations, man. Like again, these things sometimes they just kind of come out of me and you guys too. And that's the beauty is we're all carrying, we're all carrying these things. And sometimes you need an open discourse with some really great people to pull these things out of you, and then you can kind of what'd you say earlier, you create things with them, right, Tyler?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a materialize. So
It's us.
It's
us.
It's fun. It's fun to have these types of conversations. These types of conversations for me fill me up, and they do materialize. So it's quite powerful. It's fun.
To the moon, baby.
Awesome, brother.
Let's go.
Good Arch. We
All
love
right,
you,
cool.
dude.
Yeah, I love you.
Happy
guys,
holidays,
man.
everybody.
Yeah, you
Happy
too.
Thanksgiving. Hope
Take care.
everybody enjoys some turkey, ham, and all the stuffings.
Yes. Get it.
See you guys. Peace.
Take care.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. We really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm big time. We appreciate it greatly. PTG fam, you guys are all so fantastic. Thank you guys for enjoying these episodes. As always, if you truly, really love the episode and love the show, you can head over to ptgpaintball.com, click the orange Patreon link at the top left corner, and become a supporter at any level. You will get access to the Discord. The Discord is where you get the opportunity to interact with our guest, Tyler, myself, ask questions that will be read on the show. You guys have all heard the guest question segment, and it's an amazing way to support what we're doing. We truly appreciate it and could not do what we do without all of you. So with that said, I think we're heading into Thanksgiving. Hope you guys all have an amazing holiday, get to spend it with some loved ones, and get to practice sharing some gratitude for the things that we're all so fortunate to have. And yeah, as always, everybody, we will see you when we get back from Thanksgiving break. All right, everybody. Peace.